Hello friends, welcome to UGC EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Jitendra Sarova, Associate Professor, Department of Geography, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar College, University of Delhi. Today I am going to elaborate upon ozone depletion, causes and impacts, which comes under the paper climatology. First of all, let us discuss what could be the learning outcome of this module. While going through this module, you will be able to describe the distribution of ozone. You will be able to explain the processes of ozone depletion and cycle of ozone formation. You will also be able to identify the ozone depleting substances and what are their sources. You will also be able to explain the mechanism of ozone hole formation over the Antarctica and also to highlight the impact of ozone depletion, and finally to describe the steps taken as remedial measures to overcome the problem of ozone depletion. Ozone is a rare gas made up of 3 atoms of oxygen. Ozone layer is a vital component of our atmosphere. In stratosphere, it acts as a protective layer as it absorbs the harmful ultraviolet radiation and does not allow it to reach the Earth's surface. Therefore, the presence of ozone layer is essential factor in the life environment. In the stratosphere, it is formed through the interaction of the shorter ultraviolet part of the solar radiation and oxygen molecules, which consist of 2 atoms of oxygen. Ozone is dominantly concentrated at the height range of 15 and 35 kilometers from surface. Scholar Chapman in 1930 discovered the basic physical and chemical processes resulting into the formation of ozone in stratosphere. The ultraviolet radiation breaks an oxygen molecule, that is O2, into 2 oxygen O atoms. These atoms then join with other oxygen molecule to create O3, that is ozone. Ozone is dissolved when an oxygen atom and an ozone molecule rejoin to give 2 oxygen molecules, that is monoatomic oxygen plus ozone results into formation of 2 molecular oxygens, that is O2 and O2. In the 1950s, David Bates and Marshall Nicolet proved that various free radicals, especially hydroxyl, that is OH, and nitric oxide, that is NO, could catalyze this recombination reaction, depleting the overall amount of ozone. These free radicals are present in the stratosphere. They maintain the natural balance by reducing the overall amount of ozone. It is estimated that in the absence of these free radicals, the ozone layer would have thickness twice of the present layer. Chapman cycle, that is formation of ozone from oxygen and oxygen to again ozone, this cycle results into filtering of the harmful ultraviolet solar radiation. Therefore, it works as a protective layer. It absorbs harmful radiation and restricts it to reach the surface. In addition, it helps to trap the weather conditions within the lower atmosphere, that is troposphere, by creating an inversion of temperature in the stratosphere. Let us try to understand the processes and causes of ozone depletion. Ozone is a very reactive molecule, and with the help of a catalyst, it is easily reduced to the more stable oxygen. The ozone destroying catalysts are natural as well as man-made. Ozone can be destroyed by a number of free radicalists such as OH, that is hydroxyl, The odd hydrogen atoms and OH come from dissociation of water vapor, molecular hydrogen and methane. The second one is nitrous oxide, that is N2O. It is produced by combustion, supersonic jets and fertilizer uses. Third one is chlorine and fourth one is bromine. Anthropogenic activities have sharply increased the levels of chlorine and bromine. A single chlorine atom can break down thousands of ozone molecules in catalytic cycle before it is finally removed. On a per atom basis, the efficiency of bromine is far more greater than chlorine to destroy ozone, but its abundance is much less in the atmosphere. Therefore, both chlorine and bromine are the major contributors in overall ozone destruction. The increase in abundance of chlorine and bromine during the decades of 1970 to 90 is reflected in the observed decrease of stratospheric ozone over the Antarctica and other parts. The depletion of ozone in the stratosphere due to human activities is a serious global environmental problem. The major offending chemicals are pherones, that is the synthetic compounds containing carbon, fluorine and chlorine atoms. Compounds of this class are also known as halocarbons. The popular alternate name for these is chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs. They are versatile compounds that are chemically stable, odorless, non-toxic, non-corrosive and inexpensive to produce. CFCs, carbon tetrachloride, used in fire extinguishers and solvents, alternates of CFCs, that is hydrochlorofluorocarbons or HCFCs, and methyl chloroform are the chief chlorine containing gases. These gases are used in many applications such as refrigeration, air conditioning, foam blowing, aerosol propellants, and cleaning of metals and electronic components. Methyl chloroform is used in industries for cold cleaning, vapor degreasing, chemical processing, adhesives, and aerosols. The most important source of halogen gases for bromine is the halones and methyl bromide. Halones are used to extinguish fires. Methyl bromide, used as an agriculture fumigant, is another significant source of bromine to the atmosphere. Methane and nitrogen oxide, which react in stratosphere to form water vapor, and reactive hydrogen and nitrogen oxides respectively have ozone depletion capabilities. The emission of oxides of nitrogen by supersonic jet planes is also destructive for ozone layer. There are a few halogen source gases present in the stratosphere that have large natural sources. Methyl chloride contributes about 17% of the chlorine currently into the stratosphere. Likewise, about 30% of the bromine is contributed by natural source methyl bromide. These gases are emitted by oceanic and terrestrial ecosystems. Sunspot cycle shows that global total ozone levels vary by 1 to 2% between the maximum and minimum. Volcanoes can emit some chlorine containing gases. In addition, volcanic sulfur and particulate matter emissions reduce solar transmission and ozone abundance. Sunspots and volcanic eruptions bring only short-term changes in ozone abundance. Therefore, the main cause of ozone depletion are anthropogenic. There was no concern about negative consequences of nitrous oxide and CFCs until three scientists, Paul Crutzen, Dr. Rowland, and Molina, studied the relationship. In 1970, scholar Crutzen highlighted that emissions of nitrous oxide, that is N2O, from increased use of fertilizer and supersonic aircrafts could deplete ozone in the stratosphere, where due to photochemical processes it is converted into nitric oxide, that is NO. In 1974, Rowland and Molina concluded that like N2O, the CFCs under ultraviolet radiation in the stratosphere could be dissociated and released chlorine atoms will destroy ozone layer. This way, they alerted the world through their research work that CFCs were probably reducing the average concentration of ozone in the stratosphere. Later on, when in 1985 ozone hole formation was reported, Dr. Rowland expressed his frustration and stated, "What's the use of having developed a science well enough to make predictions if, in the end, all we are willing to do is stand around and wait for them come true?" Unfortunately, this means that if a disaster is in the making in the stratosphere, we are probably not going to avoid it. In 1995, scholars Crutzen, Rowland, and Molina were awarded Nobel Prize in Chemistry for their pioneering research work on ozone depleting substances. They discovered that molecules of ozone depleting substances like CFCs drift upward and reach the ozone layer in stratosphere. In stratosphere, CFCs in photochemical process absorb ultraviolet radiation and get decomposed, releasing chlorine. These released chlorine atoms in the complex series of reactions attack molecules of ozone. In a series of chain reactions, large number of ozone molecules are converted into ordinary oxygen molecules. The chlorine atoms basically interact with ozone molecules by acquiring one oxygen atom to constitute chlorine monoxide and leaving behind an oxygen molecule, that is O2. As the molecule of chlorine monoxide encounters a single oxygen atom, the oxygen breaks up the chlorine monoxide, acquiring its oxygen atom, and chlorine is released back to indulge in further destruction of ozone in the stratosphere. These reactions are chain reactions. In this manner, through chain reactions, each chlorine atom that reaches the stratosphere is able to destroy thousands of molecules of ozone, resulting into ozone depletion. The first significant database on scientific observations about the depletion of ozone layer was presented by scholar Farman and his British Antarctic Survey team in 1985. This team, on factual basis, established that ozone hole has occurred in the stratosphere ozone layer each spring since 1977 over the Antarctica. They observed that for the period 1977 to 1984, the abundance of ozone depleted by 40% during spring season of southern hemisphere. Basically, ozone hole is not like a hole in the windshield. The ozone does not disappear in a particular part entirely, nor is the depletion in the form of uniform thinning of layer. Therefore, the term hole is representative of more of a depression or decline in quantity. Ozone hole covers about 90% of Antarctica and has also expanded over the adjoining oceans. It extends over an area of about 26 million square kilometer, that is about the size of North America continent. The ozone hole develops during the Antarctic spring from September to early December. It is the most extensive in October. During this time, strong westerly winds start to circulate around the continent and a polar vortex gets established. Due to the lack of sunlight, temperature decreases and polar vortex traps and chills air to around below minus 80 degrees Celsius. These temperatures form polar stratospheric clouds known as PSCs. These clouds provide surface for reactive chlorine compounds for chemical reactions leading to ozone depletion. The role of sunlight in ozone depletion is most significant. In winter, PSCs are the most abundant, but due to absence of sunlight, chemical reactions don't take place. During the spring, as the sun comes out, photochemical reactions start along with melting of PSCs. The released CLIO derives the ozone hole formation mechanism. At the end of spring season, that is mid-December, due to warming, polar vortex breaks down, the PSCs are destroyed and air flow from lower latitudes restrict the enhanced ozone depletion and ozone hole closes or ceases. The depletion of ozone is measured in terms of reduction in total column ozone above a point on the Earth's surface, and it is observed with the help of the total ozone mapping spectrometer, that is TOMS, and it is measured in Dobson units, that is DU. In 1988, CARE reported that ozone layer depletion is also going on in the Arctic atmosphere. In the Arctic stratosphere, ozone abundance is more variable than in the Antarctic. The maximum depletion is up to 30%, and it is in winter and spring when the lowest temperatures prevail in stratosphere. Later on, it was reported that the background ozone levels have depleted in northern hemisphere to about 15%, and the trend was observed over the Mediterranean Sea and the southern United States also. This is of special significance because the northern hemisphere is more densely populated as compared to southern hemisphere, and mid-latitude zone is dominated by developed countries. The seriousness and required responses are reflected in the follow-up conferences and the meetings of the Montreal Protocol. Let us try to understand the impact of ozone depletion. Ozone layer, by filtering the harmful ultraviolet radiation, functions as a protective shield. In case the ultraviolet radiation reaches the surface with full intensity, it will severely damage the animal tissues and destroy the exposed bacteria. Hence, the presence of the protective ozone layer in stratosphere is essential factor in the life environment. As a consequence of ozone depletion, Earth's surface is exposed to increased ultraviolet radiation. The scholars have estimated that 1% decrease in ozone in stratosphere results into about 2% increase in ultraviolet radiation on surface. The increased ultraviolet radiation due to ozone depletion can cause damage to human health, ecosystems, and global climate. Ozone depletion intensifies all of the effects of ultraviolet radiation on health of human beings and other organisms. In addition, increase in ultraviolet radiation at surface results into increase in tropospheric ozone. Ozone concentration in lower part of troposphere is a health risk for human beings and also for other organisms. Ozone, because of its intense oxidant properties, it is toxic in nature. Juvenile and senile age groups and persons with asthmatic and other respiratory difficulties are more vulnerable. Near surface, ozone is produced due to photochemical decomposition of NO2. By the ultraviolet radiation, it is converted into NO and O. Reaction of atomic oxygen with molecular oxygen results into formation of ozone. Ozone formation takes place here mainly because of interaction of ultraviolet radiation with combustion gases from vehicular exhausts. Ozone in troposphere acts as a greenhouse gas and contributes in global warming. Therefore, ozone depletion on the one hand results into global warming and on the other hand in the cooling of stratosphere. One of the predicted effects of increased ultraviolet radiation is a significant increase in the incidences of skin cancer. The most common skin cancers, basal and squamous cell carcinomas, are strongly associated with exposure to ultraviolet radiation. During the decade of 1990s, scientists in New Zealand discovered that due to the depletion of stratospheric ozone concentration, harmful ultraviolet radiation increased substantially. By 2000, peak sunburning ultraviolet levels were nearly 12% more as compared with the levels 10 years earlier in New Zealand. Hence, ozone depletion results into increased incidences of sunburns. The fair-skinned and persons exposed for longer durations have higher vulnerability for sunburn and skin cancer. The increase in harmful ultraviolet radiation has negative impact on the human immune system. It will be reflected in the increased vulnerability to infections and diseases. More exposure to ultraviolet radiation also promotes cataracts. In cataract, the clouding of the eye lens not only reduces vision but may also result into blindness if not treated properly. Studies have shown a positive correlation between ocular cortical cataracts and ultraviolet B exposure. To counter the threat of ultraviolet radiation, school children in Australia are motivated to use protective hats and sunglasses and also suggested to avoid bright sunlight. The increased ultraviolet radiation has significant effect on plants and animals. One of the major concerns is that the crop yield and quality will be affected negatively. This quantitative and qualitative loss will intensify food insecurity. Exposure of bacteria to additional ultraviolet radiation affects them adversely because of their sensitivity for this type of radiation. Bacteria help in nitrogen fixation and in the maintenance of soil fertility for economically significant crops. For instance, rice plants for nitrogen depend upon cyanobacteria present in their root system. Therefore, the production of economically significant crops will decrease. The additional ultraviolet radiation has potential to eliminate certain forms of aquatic life, mainly in the upper layer of water bodies such as oceans, streams and lakes. Some scientists have highlighted the risk of destruction of the microscopic plants, phytoplanktons, due to exposure to ultraviolet radiation in waters surrounding the Antarctica. The phytoplankton represents the base of the food chain in marine ecosystems. Therefore, phytoplankton and zooplankton destruction will result into destruction of the marine life itself. On the basis of measurements, scholars have concluded that the increase in ultraviolet radiation reduces photosynthesis linearly. The productivity was reported to be declined by a minimum between 6 to 12%. Let us now focus on measures to check ozone depletion. In 1976, on the basis of scientific evidences, a few countries like United States, Canada, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway banned the use of CFCs in aerosol spray cans. The majority of the European countries did not ban CFCs in aerosol sprays. After this ban by these few countries, CFC's production initially declined worldwide, but as CFCs continued in use as refrigerants, solvents, propellants, and fire extinguishers, their levels by 1986 turned back to the level of 1976. In 1985, British Antarctic Survey scientists under the leadership of scholar Furman, on the basis of scientific evidences, discovered ozone hole formation over the Antarctica. Taking into consideration the sharp decline in levels of ozone and associated exposure to ultraviolet radiation, scientists and politicians agreed for some positive measures to address the problem. In response to the global threat of ozone depletion and consequent impact on the life environment. In 1985, the Vienna Conference was convened by UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Programme. Members of 43 nations participated in the Vienna Convention for protection of ozone layer. The motive of the conference was to promote monitoring, research, and sharing of information for the protection of ozone layer to avoid its adverse implications. In 1987, the Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete Ozone Layer was signed by the representatives from 43 countries. The participants decided to freeze production of CFCs at 1986 levels by reducing CFC's production by 50% by 1999. In response to ozone depletion trend over Antarctica and other parts of the world, this protocol was strengthened at a meeting in London in 1990. The participants decided to total phase out of CFCs and halon by year 2000 by MDCs, that is more developed countries, and by 2010 by LDCs, that is less developed countries. The phase out date was preponed to 1996 in the meeting at Copenhagen in 1992. Montreal Protocol set legally binding limitations on the consumption and production of gases depleting ozone. Over the period of time, substitutes were developed and the Montreal Protocol was strengthened and enhanced many times. More than 190 countries have ratified the treaty, including India. The Montreal Protocol shows a quick and positive international response to a global environmental threat. The outcome of this response is decline in the total abundance of CFCs in the atmosphere. The US Environmental Protection Agency has reported that over most of the world, the ozone layer has not depleted thinner since 1998. The scholars have projected that between 2060 and 2075, the level of ozone depleting gases will be at the level that existed before the formation of Antarctic ozone hole. The HCFCs that is hydrochlorofluorocarbons, and HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, have replaced CFCs. The HFCs don't have chlorine or bromine and therefore do not result into ozone depletion. They are potential greenhouse gases. As ozone, an ozone safe refrigerant known as green frizz is in use as an alternative to CFCs. The Montreal Protocol and use of substitutes and alternatives of CFCs reflect positive results. The ozone levels have stabilized and trends of recovery have been observed. In 2012, UNEP report stated that in the last decade, ozone global levels, including polar areas, showed no depleting trend. The scholars have projected that ozone layer will recover to its pre-1980 levels by some time before the middle of this century, and in polar areas by 2060-2075. Studies have reported a gradual trend towards healing of ozone layer in 2016. The Montreal Protocol and development of alternatives and substitutes of CFCs have shown positive results. Ozone levels stabilized in 1990s following the Montreal Protocol and have started to recover. The UNEP report 2007 showed that the hole in the ozone layer was recovering and the smallest it had been for about a decade. In 2010, report found over the past decade, global ozone and ozone in the Arctic and Antarctic regions is no longer decreasing, but it is not yet increasing. The ozone layer outside the polar regions is projected to recover to its pre-1980 levels sometime before the middle of this century. In contrast, the springtime ozone hole over the Antarctic is expected to recover by 2060-2075. A gradual trend toward healing was reported in 2016. Let us come to the summary and conclusions of the discussion so far. Ozone layer is a very significant component of our atmosphere. It acts as a protective layer as it absorbs the harmful ultraviolet radiation and does not allow it to reach the Earth's surface. Therefore, the presence of ozone layer is an essential factor in the life environment of our planet. In stratosphere, oxygen ozone cycle operates as Chapman cycle. Ozone is a very reactive molecule. It is easily reduced to more stable oxygen form with the help of catalysts. The ozone destroying catalysts are natural as well as man-made. Crutzen, Rowland and Molina pointed out that emission of nitrous oxide and CFCs have capacities to destroy ozone. The first scientific data about the depletion of ozone layer was presented by scholar Farman in 1985 as leader of the British Antarctic Survey team. He established that ozone hole has occurred in the stratospheric ozone layer over Antarctica each spring for the period 1977 to 1984. The ozone abundance declined by about 40% during each spring in this period. Later on, ozone depletion was also reported over Arctic and Northern Hemisphere mid-latitudes. Ozone depletion results into increase in ultraviolet radiation reaching the Earth's surface. The increased ultraviolet radiation due to ozone depletion can cause damage to human health, ecosystems, and to the global climate. Ozone depletion would magnify all of the negative effects of ultraviolet radiation on human health, such as sunburns, skin cancers, and cataracts. The effects of additional ultraviolet radiation on animal and plant life are also important. There is serious concern that crop yield and quality will be adversely affected. In 1987, the Montreal Protocol set legally binding controls on the production and consumption of gases associated with ozone depletion. Montreal Protocol represents a positive international response to a global environmental problem. As a result of this action, the total abundance of ozone depletion gases in the atmosphere has started to decrease recently, and a healing trend is visible. So it's a big achievement. That's all. Thank you. Thank you very much.